Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Russia will fight until it fulfills its war aims, says Kremlin on the 4th anniversary of the Ukraine war, as Zelensky urges the European Union to give clear date for Ukraine's accession. US doubles pressure on Iran to make a deal soon on its nuclear ambitions. President Trump says no deal would mean a very bad day for Tehran and its people. US new tariffs take effect at 10% instead of the 15% Trump announced earlier. Kiev residents came to a halt on Tuesday as the city observed a moment of silence marking the 4th anniversary of the Ukraine conflict with Russia. Soldiers lowered military flags in the Ukrainian capital, while commuters and pedestrians stopped in place as the clock struck the hour, bowing their heads, remembering those who lost their lives so far in the conflict.
Точно знаю, тільки побувавши в Україні і побачивши на власні очі наше життя і боротьбу, відчувши наших
Ukrainians marking the 4th anniversary of its conflict with Russia, a hard-fought battle. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky paying tributes to the martyrs.
Зрозуміти, що Путін і є ця війна. Він причина початку і перепона для її закінчення. І зараз українці долають
Ukrainians are enduring the hardest winter in history and terror almost every night. I do not know who else could withstand this without collapsing or wavering. Ukrainians are doing it. Of course, we all want the war to end. But no one will allow Ukraine to end. We want peace, strong, dignified, lasting.
Meanwhile, European Union leaders are visiting Kiev, joining President Zelensky for a prayer service. Inside St. Sophia Cathedral, the leaders stood alongside priests of various denominations and military chaplains as prayers were read for Ukraine's soldiers and civilians.
Благослови його дружину, благослови його діток, Господи, благослови.
On the 4th anniversary of the conflict with Ukraine, the Kremlin made it clear that Moscow has not yet achieved all its objectives and operations will continue until those goals are met. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said that the aims of the campaign remain unfulfilled, signaling no immediate end to the conflict. Further, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky renewed his appeal to the European Union, calling for a definitive timeline for Ukraine's accession to the bloc. In a video address, Zelensky stressed that receiving a clear date for EU membership remains a top priority for Kiev. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said that NATO always stood with Ukraine throughout the challenges and will continue to do so. He asserted that there cannot be true peace in Europe without real peace in Ukraine.
We remember today and every day what Ukraine has endured. But while we pay tribute to those lost and those suffering, we also stand in hope. Inspired by 4 years of unbroken resistance. NATO stood with Ukraine from the beginning. We stand with you today, and we will stand with you throughout the challenges ahead.
World's largest aircraft carrier, USS Gerald R. Ford, has arrived at the U.S. naval base at Sauder Bay in Greece's Crete as it heads towards a broader American military buildup in the Middle East. The deployment comes amid renewed tensions with Iran, with President Donald Trump warning of possible military action if Tehran does not agree to a new nuclear deal. The United States already maintains a significant naval presence in the region, including the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln and multiple destroyers. The move follows earlier confrontations over Iran's nuclear program after Washington withdrew from the 2015 nuclear agreement. US President Donald Trump, meanwhile, continues to walk a tough line between diplomatic and military solutions for Iran, reiterating on Monday evening that he preferred to strike a deal to curtail its nuclear program. At the same time, he warned if that doesn't happen, it would mean a very bad day for the country and, sadly, its people. Reacting to this, Iran firmly dismissed speculations about a potential interim agreement with the United States, stating that such claims have no basis. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghei addressed numerous rumors regarding the format and substance of the ongoing negotiations between Tehran and Washington at a press conference on Monday. He underlined that none of the details circulating are confirmed by Iran, especially those regarding an interim agreement which he said had no basis. Further, in what seems to be the preparation for contingency, the ground forces of Iran's Revolutionary Guard held military drills on the country's southern coast on Tuesday. It comes as the United States weighs possible airstrikes against the Islamic Republic. The U.S. State Department is pulling out non-essential government personnel and their eligible family members from the U.S. Embassy in Beirut amid growing concerns about the risk of a military conflict with Iran. The State Department on Monday updated its travel advisory for Lebanon, repeating its warning that U.S. citizens should not travel to the country. Remaining embassy personnel are restricted from personal travel without advance permission, and additional travel restrictions may be imposed due to increased security issues. The U.S. has built up one of its biggest military deployments in West Asia, with President Trump warning on Monday. Iran has threatened to strike American bases in the region if it is attacked. And on to the tariff turmoil. The United States has imposed a new 10% tariff on most imports from Tuesday, according to the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. This is in accordance with the rate first announced by President Donald Trump on Friday. The move follows a ruling by the Supreme Court of the United States that struck down earlier tariffs imposed under emergency powers. Although Trump later said that he would raise the temporary global tariffs to 15%, the official notice confirms that imports not covered by exemptions would face an additional ad valorem rate of 10%. The Section 122 provision allows such duties for up to 150 days to address balance of payments concerns. On to South America now. Mexican authorities on Monday deployed an additional 2,000 military troops to the western state of Jalisco following violence in the wake of the death of Mexico's most wanted cartel leader, Nemesio Oseguera, known as El Pencho. Mexico has deployed 10,000 troops deployments since Sunday to quell clashes sparked by the killing of drug lord that have claimed dozens of lives. Oseguera had a $15 million bounty on his head. News of his death triggered spasms of violence in the country, with cartel members blocking roads in 20 states and torching vehicles and businesses. At least 25 National Guard members were killed in subsequent clashes. In Jalisco's state capital, Guadalajara, schools remained closed and most public transportation was suspended. While U.S. President Donald Trump is yet to respond publicly to Oseguera's death. He posted on his Truth Social platform briefly that Mexico must step up their effort on cartels and drugs. In response to the violence and clashes in Mexico, the United States, Canada and India have issued stay-in-shelter advisories for its citizens in Mexico. In the US and Canada, several airlines have also cancelled their flights to Mexico, especially to Guadalajara and Puerto Vallarta. On the weather front, northeastern United States has been paralyzed by severe blizzards since Sunday, with relentless snowfall and exceptionally strong winds causing widespread disruption across the region. The blizzard dumped more than 2.5 feet of snow across parts of the United States northeast, disrupting travel, shutting schools and leaving over 600,000 homes and businesses without power. In New York City, Central Park recorded more than 19 inches of snow, while Boston and Providence saw 14 and 32 inches of snow, respectively, with winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour. Thousands of flights were cancelled at major airports, including John F. Kennedy International Airport, LaGuardia Airport and Logan International Airport, while rail services were also suspended. Several states declared emergencies and National Guard troops were deployed to assist with snow clearance and response efforts. You're watching DD India Live, still to come on the show. Canada moves to revoke 26/11 Mumbai terror attack accused Tahavvur Rana's citizenship ahead of Prime Minister Mark Carney's visit to India. State Bank of India pegs the economy's third quarter growth at 8.1%. And Indian and European Spice Association sign an MOU to strengthen food safety and compliance in India.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I am Tanvi Taneja. With an aim to strengthen business ties between India and Canada, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal virtually interacted with Canada's International Trade Minister Maninder Sidhu. The two leaders held a discussion related to India-Canada Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. The leaders also discussed strengthening business ties on both sides through regular delegation-level engagements. In a post on X, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal wrote, and I quote him here, had a virtual interaction with Maninder Sidhu, Minister of International Trade, Canada, on advancing discussions related to the India-Canada Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. We also deliberated on strengthening business ties on both sides through regular delegation-level engagements over the coming months to build sustained momentum in our economic partnership. So the meeting of the two trade ministers is being held ahead of Prime Minister Mark Carney's India visit beginning Thursday. During his visit, Canada's Prime Minister will be visiting Mumbai first and then New Delhi, where he will meet with his Indian counterpart Narendra Modi. The leaders will focus on elevating and expanding the India-Canada relationship with ambitious new partnerships in trade, energy, technology and artificial intelligence, talent, culture and defence. He will meet with business leaders to identify investment opportunities in Canada and create new partnerships between businesses on both sides. India is the world's fastest growing major economy and a powerhouse in global commerce and technology. In 2024, India was Canada's 7th largest goods and services trading partner, with two-way trade coming to $30.8 billion. At last year's G20 Leaders Summit, Canada and India agreed to formally launch negotiations for an ambitious comprehensive economic partnership agreement. The agreement is aimed at supporting Canada's goal to more than double two-way trade to $70 billion by 2030. Further, the Canadian government has initiated proceedings to revoke the citizenship of 26/11 Mumbai terror attack accused Tahavvur Hussain Rana ahead of Canadian Prime Minister Carney's visit to India on Thursday. Immigration authorities allege that Rana obtained Canadian citizenship in 2001 through misrepresentation, failing to disclose prolonged absences from the country while claiming residency in Ottawa and Toronto. The matter has now been referred to the Federal Court of Canada. Rana is currently in custody in India following his extradition from the United States and is awaiting trial in connection with the 2008 26/11 Mumbai attacks. And on to some business news now. The Indian economy is estimated to have grown by 8.1% in the third quarter of the current financial year. This is according to a research report released by the State Bank of India. As per the report, high-frequency indicators point to resilient economic activity in the third quarter despite global headwinds. It also noted strong rural consumption trends and a steady recovery in urban demand supported by fiscal stimulus. The assessment comes at a time when India is set to revise its GDP base year from 2011-12 to 2022-23, scheduled to be released on 27th February 2026. The Union Cabinet today approved the extension of the existing North-South corridor from Gift City to Shahpur of Gujarat Metro Rail Corporation Limited. It will be 3.33 kilometers long and include 3 elevated stations. The project is scheduled to be completed in around 4 years. The Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs approved minimum support prices of raw jute for marketing season 2026-27.
हमेशा एमएसपी को 50% से अधिक रखा है कॉस्ट से। ये भी इसी प्रिंसिपल के तहत है फैसला, और इससे हमारे किसानों को विशेषकर पश्चिम बंगाल और असम के कुछ क्षेत्रों में जहाँ पर जूट की ग्रोथ होती है, वहाँ पे किसानों को बहुत बेनिफिट होगा।
Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath is on an official visit to Singapore. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister on Tuesday held discussions with SAT's President and Chief Executive Officer Kerry Mock in Singapore on Tuesday. SATS signed an agreement to develop world-class cargo complex at Noida International Airport, Jawar, and establish a Taj SATS Air Catering Kitchen serving Jawar and other North Indian airports. The partnership aims to boost trade, strengthen supply chains and create jobs, solidifying Uttar Pradesh as a key aviation and logistics hub. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath also held key discussions with Singapore's Minister for Manpower, Dr. Tan See Leng, and Singapore Cooperation Enterprise CEO, Kong Wei Mun. He witnessed the signing of an MOU between Invest UP and Singapore Cooperation Enterprise for Strategic Partnership, focusing on capacity building, policy development, knowledge exchange, sustainable growth, digital transformation and infrastructure in Uttar Pradesh. The Tourism Leadership Summit, organized by US-India Strategic Partnership Forum in collaboration with the Sankala Foundation, convened in New Delhi on Tuesday. The summit seeks to deepen public-private collaboration and chart actionable strategies to position India as a competitive and resilient global tourism hub. Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan, delivering the inaugural address, described tourism as a powerful driver of economic opportunity, saying India is poised to redefine tourism for the world. The Indian Army Southern Command on Tuesday conducted exercise Agni Varsha at the Pokhran field firing ranges in Rajasthan, showcasing integrated combat capabilities in the desert sector. The exercise validated coordinated employment of mechanized forces, precision long-range fires and network-enabled command and control in a realistic operational environment. A range of advanced platforms, including T-90 tanks, K-9 Vajra howitzers, Apache helicopters and unmanned systems were deployed during the drill. Defense journalists from 25 countries witnessed the exercise, which underscored Indian Army's focus on indigenization, technology infusion and operational readiness. So on the second day of the International Spice Conference in Kochi, member of the lower house of Indian Parliament Shashi Tharoor underscored India's commanding position in global spice trade. He said, the global spice market is expanding rapidly, and as the world's largest producer, India remains a formidable and recognized player in the industry.
India has re-emerged as the world's largest producer, consumer and exporter of spices, as I said. But that's a position now that reflects not nostalgia for the past, but competence in the present. We produce those nearly 12 million tons of spices that we talked about, that we consume the bulk of it domestically, and yet we remain a dominant presence in global markets because that balance is not accidental. It speaks to an industry that has learned to serve local needs while meeting global expectations, and to do so at a scale that few countries can match.
In a related development, in order to strengthen food safety compliance and ease trade regulations, the All India Spices Exporters Forum and the European Spice Association signed a memorandum of understanding. Under a joint declaration, both organizations reaffirmed their commitment to safeguarding consumer health and promoting ethical, responsible practices across the supply chain. The declaration unequivocally condemns food adulteration and bans the use of sterilization methods prohibited in the European Union, such as ethylene oxide, for products destined for the EU markets. It also cautions against the misuse of permitted processes, including undeclared irradiation or non-compliant chemical treatments. The two-year MOU provides a framework for information sharing, technical cooperation and coordinated engagement on EU regulatory requirements. This covers hygiene, contaminants, traceability and sustainability. The ESA will share updates on European market regulations, while AISEF will promote EU standards across its supply chain to ensure consistent compliance for Indian origin products. India and Argentina completed 77 years of their strategic partnership this month. The multifaceted relations between the two countries have strengthened over the years with constructive cooperation, especially more recently in the field of critical minerals. Argentine ambassador to India, Mariano Agustin Corsino, was addressing a special interaction with the Foreign Correspondents Club of South Asia in New Delhi.
In the last 6 years, Argentina and India elevated its relationship to the rank of a strategic partnership. India is the 6th largest partner of Argentina. And currently we enjoy an economic relationship of around $5.5 billion. At the same time, Argentina and India enjoy a very high degree of complementarity in both economies. So that allows of a lot of cooperation, for example, in mining and lithium and other fields.
Further, Argentina has officially nominated the current Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Mariano Grossi, a former Argentine diplomat himself, to be the next Secretary General of the United Nations for 2027 to 2031 period. The Argentinian ambassador to India said that there should be a rotational policy among the different regions of the world to represent the United Nations.
Argentina is presenting a candidate for the UN UN Secretary General, which is going to be renewed I think in October. I don't remember the month, but this year. And Argentina is proposing Ambassador Rafael Grossi. Currently he is the head of the Atomic Energy Agency. He's a very senior diplomat of Argentina. He was ambassador to Austria, and we are proposing him as a candidate, because there is a consensus, let's say, that there should be a rotation in the regions of the world, and the only and last time that Latin America or South America had Secretary General was in the early 80s, more than 40 years ago, when Javier Pérez de Cuellar was a Peruvian, very distinguished Peruvian diplomat, was secretary.
Spin bowlers are likely to play dominant roles as England and Pakistan face off in the Super 8 encounter at the T20 World Cup in Sri Lanka today. With the Pakistan-New Zealand clash on Saturday being washed out, a win against Pakistan in Pallekal will be enough to see England into the last four. England may not have hit top gear yet, but the two-time champions have found ways to win. They kicked off their Super 8s campaign with a commanding 51-run victory over Sri Lanka, a result that significantly boosted their net run rate and took them to the top of the standings. Meanwhile, Pakistan will bank on their varied spin arsenal on a track that traditionally slows as the match progresses. So that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And for those on the go, you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on your fingertips. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.